Now, before I turn the chair over to the new president of Unifor, there is a long-standing tradition in the First Nations cultures of Canada and Quebec. There's no such thing as a gavel. That belongs to the legal system. But what the First Nations do is they pass on the right to speak on behalf of the Assembly. So on behalf of our union, I would like to present to Jerry a talking stick and the right to speak on our behalf.
Thank you, brother.
We're out of here. Talking dead, bro.
All right.
You want me to clear my stuff up?
Sure.
Yeah, let's do that.
I'm good. You ready? Well, we've got a fair bit of media here today, so I would assume there's something going on. And what's going on is something that the federal government better start paying attention to. Because today, brothers and sisters, there's going to be some change. Sisters, brothers, delegates, guests, members, and our friends watching on live stream, welcome to a new era for the Canadian trade union movement. Welcome and thank you. Bonjour, confrères.
Good day, brothers and sisters. Good afternoon, and welcome to Toronto.
Are you ready to build Unifor? Are you ready to win justice? Are you ready to organize? More importantly, are you ready to take back our country? I know you are ready. I can see it. I can hear it. And so am I, brothers and sisters. I am immensely honored today and humbled to be elected as your founding president of Unifor. I understand the challenge that has been given me, but I am excited and energized by this responsibility. I'm not going to BS anyone in this room. I'm going to need a lot of help. And I know there's 2,500, 3,000 of us sitting in this room today that are absolutely prepared to lead, and thousands more in our Unifor workplaces that are ready to help us build this great union. Ken, Dave, thank you, brothers, for leading us to this day. It takes vision, it takes leadership, it takes guts, it takes personal sacrifice to build something this great. Something great like Unifor. Your leadership in recognizing that the Canadian trade union movement needed some change. It needed some, it needed reinvigorating. It needed new blood. It needed to bring people together to build a stronger organization. To this point, Dave, Ken, you make us proud. Thank you for your lifetime of trade unionism. Thank you for what you have done for our two unions and for our new union, Unifor. Please join me, all of you, in thanking two great union leaders. Thank you very much, Dave. Thank you very much, Ken. All right, Jerry, take a breath. Sisters and brothers, here is my pledge to all of you. I will work night and day to work and to connect and to make sure that I learn about your issues, I learn about your workplaces, I learn about your communities, I learn about your struggles. I will be there to speak with you. I will be there to speak for you. Many in this hall already know me quite well, but many in this hall are just getting to know me. So please, please, let me indulge you just for a moment and let you tell you a little bit about myself. Tell you a little bit about my background. Tell you a little bit about how this fire of trade unionism started in this short little body of mine. I come from a strong blue-collar family, working-class family, and I'm very proud of that, brothers and sisters, because in many ways our family really lived the classic immigrant and trade union experience. That was a time when manufacturing jobs were still expanding, and it was a time when the economy was expanding. My father is Guyanese, my mother is Guyanese. He worked at de Havilland Aircraft. He stood out there. They looked at him and they thought he was Latin American. They called him Desi. I guess that would have mean my mother would be Lucille Ball. But the reality is de Havilland Aircraft is a multicultural factory. Therefore, his nationality was basically irrelevant. The workers elected him as a shop steward, as their financial secretary, and ultimately the president of the local union. He then left the local union and joined the national union led by Bob White, and he became a rep with the UAW and the CAW. Bob White was my father's friend and his leader, and Bob White, brothers and sisters, is my hero. He is right here today. Bob, look at what you started, brother. Just look at what you started. You started something that's unstoppable. It's a Canadian union for Canadian workers. And just look at us now, Bob. Thank you very much. Stand up. I followed in my father's footsteps. I was a shop steward at de Havilland by the time I was 20. I was plant chairperson of 26 and president of the local union. Then a CAW rep, and then an assistant to President Buzz Hargrove, and now Ken Loenza. Buzz, brother, I know you're watching us right now on live stream. I just want to tell you thank you so much, brother. You made our union proud. I was elected plant chairperson at a young age. And I was nervous, I got to be honest with you. I was overwhelmed. At 26, we had 2,700 people in the plant, and I was nervous. And I remember when I sat down with my father and he could detect my nervousness, he said, listen. He said, just relax. He says, don't be afraid. You're going to make mistakes. He says, but just don't make the same mistake twice. And he says, understand that respect is earned. It's never granted by the name that's on your door. You have to come to work early. You've got to open your door. You've got to talk to your members. You've got to build your local union, and then you will gain true respect from your members. And I've lived by that mantra since I was elected back in 1978. So I thought about what my father has said to me a lot over the years, and I've thought of what he has said a lot over the last 3 weeks since I accepted nomination to be your president. It's with pride today that I am the founding president of Unifor, but I am very proud of the fact that I know that I am my father's son. Thanks, Dad, for being my true inspiration. Stand up, Dad. Give him a wave. See if you can get up. Jerry Dyer Sr., brothers and sisters. My mother was also a worker. She was a factory worker in W.J. Gage. She made envelopes. She ran a machine. She was a union activist. She was committed and deeply principled. Listen to this. She was a member of the old Toronto Bookbinders Union, the old GCIU, merged with the GCIU, and is now CEP Local 591G. So let me get something straight here. If my father is the CAW and my mother came from CEP, I guess that must make me rightfully Unifor. I've got one regret today. My mom isn't here to share this moment. And as a trade unionist, she would have loved to be here today. But for the last 3 weeks, she's been in a long-term care facilities in Oshawa dealing with her own formidable challenges. This is tough for me today because, listen, I'm a mama's boy. So my body and soul are here today. But a huge part of my heart is at Hillsdale Terrace in Oshawa. Look, Mom, I love you, and I'm going to see you on Tuesday. Thinking about my mother makes me think about our healthcare system and the caregivers who try, in spite of all of the cuts and short staffing, do their best each and every day. Our seniors, our caregivers, both deserve better, brothers and sisters. I'm proud that healthcare is one of the biggest sectors in Unifor. Over 26,000 members. We're going to fight like hell for fair treatment. We're fighting for our members. We're also going to fight for our parents. Where's my wife? Where's my children? Come on up here, please. Get up here. Come on. We're a family union here. Where's my family? Please come up here and join me. I am the father of 4 incredible children. Like many parents, I worry. Will they enjoy the same opportunities as us? A good unionized jobs, relatively secure futures. But in reality, I know their generation will likely be worse off than their parents. Even when they graduate from college, when they graduate from university, they have a huge debt. We know that they state that the rate of unemployment for the youth is 14%, but we know that it's a heck of a lot more than that. That their problems, their unemployment rates are double and triple the actual Canadian rate. Society has betrayed the hopes and dreams and the potentials of our young people. They are smarter than we are. They're better educated. They have tremendous potential. And they are doing what they're supposed to do. They got an education. They invested in their skills, and now what? Unemployment. Or else precarious work. Jobs that remotely don't use their skills that they work so hard to attain. Many times over the last couple of weeks, I've been asked to reporters, do unions, do they have a future in this country? And I say, you're damn right they have a future. And you know why? They have a future because young people are getting screwed and they're just not going to take it anymore. Young people are exploited, young people are frustrated, and we all know what happens when you're frustrated and you're exploited. People just don't sit down and take it, and they will always find ways to fight back. Take a look at what's going around us. Take a look. Young workers, young men, young women in the Second Cup in Halifax are fighting to join a union. Take a look at the Occupy movement in Quebec. The Occupy movement around the country. Take a look at the student movement in Quebec. These aren't people that are going to sit back and take it. These are young people that are going to fight for a better country, and they're going to fight for everything that they rightfully deserve. I have a son, and I have 3 daughters. 3 incredible young women. Every day my daughters fuel my passion to win true equality for women. Economic equality, yes, but social equality as well. Like ending violence against women. Violence against issue is a crucial issue to me. I'm constantly shocked and outraged by our lack of progress in ending violence. Like the murder of women in the garment industry in Bangladesh, the gang rape of women in India, the burning of poor women just over the last few weeks in Detroit. One died, two are clutching onto life barely. All this proves is that valuing women, respecting them, and keeping them safe is one of the fundamental human rights issues of our time. And it's not just a women's issue, it's a men's issue. It's all of our issue, and I know that. And my son knows that. Brothers and sisters, you have to understand. You have to understand that we have to make sure that our children get involved. By the time they're between 18, 20 in community issues, they have to get involved in their community. Because if they don't get involved at a young age, they'll likely never get involved at all. But our kids understand the importance of getting involved in community. You know why? Because their parents had good unionized jobs and were able to provide for them. And we tell them, you've got to give back to society because it's what is the basic fundamentals of who we are. So you got to get out there and work. And let me give you an example. Let me give you the best example I can give you. We always talk about what we're going to do in our community. And we live in Milton, which is 45 minutes from here. In the Toronto traffic, 2.5 hours. Our local newspaper is the Milton Champion. And we always talk about what it is we can do to give back. And on a Saturday morning, we sat at the breakfast table, and on the cover of it, on the front page, there was men standing with pink high heels on. And what they were doing is they were fundraising to raise monies for the 2 women's shelters in Milton. And of course, the task was, our joint task is how do we eliminate violence against women. So that day we said this is going to be our responsibility to the community of Milton. Because the first 2 walks, the first year in Milton they had 2 walks, they raised $16,000. The first year Jordan and I raised $32,000. This will be our 3rd march, and so far we have raised well over $100,000, and we're at that. And the third march, our 3rd walk, is going to be in a couple weeks. But brothers and sisters, the issue is not the money, even though that's important. I'll tell you what the issue is. The issue is that my 20-year-old son, he was 18, 19, and he's 20 now, took the discussions to his university. He took the discussions to his friends. He took the discussions in the bar that he has a couple drinks and then I have to pick him up at night so he doesn't have to drive home. But the most important things is he brings his friends, he brings his classmates to the walks. And this time around we're going to have even more young men at the walk, because for every one person that he brings, they'll bring a person, we'll have the debate, we'll have the discussion, and that's how we're going to change things, brothers and sisters, one person at a time. Ending violence against women is going to be a priority for Unifor, and that priority is going to start today, and it's going to start right now. Because I talked about the atrocities around the world, but we have enough atrocities here in Canada. Canada is not innocent. Every year, there's over 200,000 women that are victims of violence every year. Over 200,000. Every day, there's over 3,000 women in shelters. Every day, there's 2,500 kids in shelters trying to escape violence. And I think what is even the most deplorable stat that I can even imagine, Aboriginal women are 8 times more likely to be victims of violence. So violence, brothers and sisters, it's not a women's issue. It's everyone's issue, and it's my issue. And I challenge everyone in this room to show our sisters how much they mean to us and join the fight to eliminate violence against women. Unifor is 86,000 women strong, trade unionists. They will shape our union. They will lead. They will inspire. And they will act concretely to make sure that we achieve equality. In our union, and we're going to talk about it because we're going to deal with it right through the system, here are some of the things that we've done in collective bargaining. We have a women's advocate program that we put from collective agreement to collective agreement to collective agreement. We have 290 women's advocates in our workplaces that our women turn to at the times of need. And why do they do that? Why do we put in place the Women's Advocate Program? It's to give people hope. It's to allow women who are abused to seek some help, or to seek some help prior to being abused and prior to being killed. So brothers and sisters at the bargaining table, our pledge to you is make sure that the Women's Advocate Program is spread from coast to coast to coast, so that all the women in our workplaces know they have somewhere to go when they need some help. I want to talk about one very special woman trade unionist. It's my partner, Leslie. To know me, you got to know my partner, Leslie. She's a proud union activist, a mother. She's a hell of a negotiator. And I'll tell you how I know that. When I met Leslie, she was the vice chair of a CAW at the airport in Winnipeg. And I lived in Toronto, so we were having a long-distance relationship. And when we decided that it was to see if this relationship would work, that probably we should see if we could live in the same province. But before she would commit, she had to bargain our cohabitation agreement. So she said to me, number one, you need to know, and I've checked all this out, no woman ever left a man because he washed the dishes after a meal. She said to me, there's no such thing as a laundry fairy that will mysteriously come into the house and pick up the clothes and wash them and put them back in the dresser. So I said, Leslie, I get it, I understand, and that's absolutely fair, but I have one request. Would you mind very much that when I'm washing my clothes, you mind very much if I wash yours as well? She liked the answer, and we've been together for the last 24 years. She taught me about being an equal partner. She taught me about remaining strong during adversity. She taught me about mutual respect. She taught me about love. I'm very happy to have her as my partner. Please stand up, Leslie, or at least everybody, give everybody a wave. Leslie Dice. To complete my family, first my daughter Casey isn't here. She's in Winnipeg. She's a photographer. She committed to a wedding, and so she couldn't be here, and she's really ticked that she couldn't change it. But my daughter Carly is my special health care worker. She's a nurse, and she is the calm one of my 4 children. Carly, give everybody a wave. My daughter Carly. And my daughter Rebecca. My Rebecca. Let's just say that she is her father's daughter. You can tell by her shy disposition, she is absolutely my daughter, and I love them all so much. Unifor will be a family union. I thank my family, I thank my 3 sisters, I thank my extended family, because without the strength and support, I knew I wouldn't be standing here today. And I know that, and I thank you all very much. Brothers and sisters, this is a historical day. It's an incredible day for all of us. And Unifor is already making history. Everyone here is a part of that history. Why are we here today? Because we know that Canada, as it exists today, is failing. It's failing us all. It's failing to deliver the prosperity and the security and the respect that each and one of us deserve. The wealth is trickling up, austerity is trickling down. And I think what blows me away here is that rampant capitalism is on the offensive, even though they've screwed up so much lately. Just think of it. The global financial crisis, worldwide recession, the worst recession since the 1930s. It wasn't caused by unions. It wasn't caused by taxes. It wasn't caused by social programs. It was caused by old-style corporate greed. That's what caused the recession. And our economy is not getting better, contrary to what they're saying. Jobs are getting worse. Life is getting worse. Counting the hidden unemployment, we have over 2 million unemployed Canadians. And we call that progress? That is an absolute tragedy, and we need to fight to make sure we change that around. Because yes, some jobs are being created, but they're lousy jobs with lousy pay and lousy hours and no benefits and no pensions. Average living standards are no better today than they were a generation ago. And for many Canadians, frankly, they're much worse. And what makes me most angry is that this decline is not a result of circumstances outside of our control. This mess is as a result of clear choices. Choices that we can stop, brothers and sisters. Choices that we can change. Growing inequality was not an accident. It was the plan. It was a choice. The decline in manufacturing due to free trade and an overvalued petrodollar wasn't an accident. It was a choice. The cuts to UEI, they were a choice. A choice that forced people to leave their communities, to take jobs that paid even less. These were choices that didn't have to be made. Deregulating our telecommunications sector was another choice. Removing foreign ownership restrictions was another choice. Inviting Verizon into the Canadian market with special privileges was another choice. A choice by our Prime Minister and a choice by his Conservative caucus. They know full well, brothers and sisters, they're not nuts completely. They know that they're going to transfer thousands and thousands of Canadian telecom jobs to the United States. They know this. This isn't about consumers or the cost we pay for wireless. This is about sacrificing an important Canadian industry to support the conservative ideology that globalization always works. And what if Verizon hands over our communications records to American surveillance? Then it'll be far too late to protect our privacy. And that's what happens, brothers and sisters. And no one should ever forget that was also a choice. A choice that our own government made without our consent. Delegates, these were choices. They were bad choices. And brothers and sisters, it's time making different choices. Let me put it this way. Unifor is here because it's time to stop playing defense, and it's time we started to play offense. It's time to stop reacting, and it's time to start setting the agendas, brothers and sisters. Let's start setting the agenda. I want to tell you another story about choices. And this is a story about the choices that define us. A story that sums up what's wrong with Canada today. We will never forget the horrible tragedy at Lac Megantic. Two of our own, two CEP leaders of Local 299. They died in a hellish inferno. Roger Paquette, 61 years old. He was the unit chair at Energex Combustibles, a wood pellet manufacturer. He died in the fire that engulfed his home when he was in bed downtown. Yves Boulay was 51, a union activist for 20 years. He was the unit chair at Bestar, an office furniture manufacturer. Brother Boulay was amongst those trapped in the Musique Cafe when the explosion and firestorm swept the town. Mes deux confrères, Roger et Yves.
My two brothers, Roger and Yves, will never be forgotten. We will never forget you.
This wasn't just an accident. What is the real story behind Magentic. MMA, the Montreal, Maine and Atlantic Railway. They bought up short rail lines from CP and other railways because they wanted to scrap the less profitable routes. MMA wanted to squeeze the most profits, every dollar of profit they could out of these less busy routes. So they cut the workforce in half. They reduced wages by 40%. Remember, brothers and sisters, these jobs used to be performed by union members. They were good-paying jobs with decent wages and decent benefits. But not anymore. Railway deregulation created non-union jobs with lower wages, and as we have seen, with lousy safety conditions. MMA, they implemented a one-person crew and remote control systems. They left trains parked overnight on main lines, all to save money. No wonder that in 2012, MMA accident rate was already twice the industry average. Worst of all, the government allowed it to happen. The government facilitated it all. The government rubber-stamped the railways' repeated requests for exemptions. Years ago, brothers and sisters, railways used to serve the public interest. Remember, Canada was built through the railway. But then government deregulated the industry. They reorganized our railways as a result of free trade. They glorified the pursuit of profit at all costs. Once again, brothers and sisters, this was a choice. It was a choice to manage our railway industry like this, to manage our whole economy like this. And one night in July, MMA left a train full of oil on a hill outside of Lake Magentic. It was unattended, and it was improperly secured. It started to roll, and it crashed into town and exploded at 1 a.m., and it killed 47 people, and they died a horrible death. And here's the final insult. The company will not take one stitch of responsibility for what they have done, for the lives that it took away, for the disaster it created. It already filed for bankruptcy, and they left it up to the public to clean up the mess. That's a damn insult. And the guy got rich. He got rich running MMA. And he's trying to wash his hands of a human disaster that his company caused. We can't let him away with this, brothers and sisters. We can't let his company off the hook. They're responsible for what was done here, and he should be spending the rest of his ass life in jail. Throw him in jail. Brothers and sisters, Lac Magentic represents the triumph of greed over people. It's time to stop making these choices. Choices like deregulation, privatization, free trade, sacrificing communities for the interests of private property. It's time to start making better choices. In short, brothers and sisters, our society is on its ass, upside down. And it's our responsibility, and that's our job, to make sure we turn things right side up. And together we're going to do this. This isn't going to happen by chance. This isn't going to happen by complaining. Change will happen when we come together and show our collective power. But unless we rebuild union power, we won't get better results. We need to step up our game. We need to get better at what it is we do. And in some cases, we need to do things differently, because we need better results for our members and for all working people. Unifor is going to be a new kind of a union. And what's new about Unifor, you may ask? Our breadth, our scope are going to be unprecedented. We're going to be the largest industrial union in Canada, ever in the history of Canada. We're going to represent members and workers in 20 economic sectors. Critical mass of members in every province, private sector workers, public sector workers, all in one union. We represent the entire value chain of the economy: resources, transportation, manufacturing, communication, and servicing. And brothers and sisters, we're going to have a defense fund of over $440 million. And it's big enough to ensure that not one Unifor member will ever be starved out by the boss. No Unifor member will ever be starved out. I promise you that. There have been large Canadian unions before. Both CEP and CAW were in themselves large Canadian unions. But together we can now truly say, brothers and sisters, that Unifor is a union for everyone, no matter where you work or where you live. What else is new about Unifor? We're going to incorporate state-of-the-art strategies and technologies in organizing and bargaining and communications and engagement. Just look at this convention, brothers and sisters. Live streamed. Social media, we're connected. Organizing, that's essential. We'll be more ambitious and be more creative in organizing than any union in Canadian history. We're going to spend, brothers and sisters, $10 million a year. And we've got into place a concrete plan to make sure we use it wisely, to rebuild union destiny and to enhance our collective power. And there's more. Unifor Constitution opens our doors to workers who have been excluded from the benefits of unions. Right now, brothers and sisters, there's millions of workers excluded from collective bargaining. We intend to change that with our community chapters. Any group of workers, any group with a common interest, with a plan, they can join our union through our community chapters. They can join with us. They can use your power, or they can join with us. Together we'll have solidarity, brothers and sisters, and we'll have that solidarity and we'll use that to help improve our own lives. We create a new union today, but we never forget where we came from. We are building on a rich history, and we will always honor and uphold the great traditions that made CEP and CAW so successful. We remember the generations of trade unionists that came before us. They built the proud unions that made us who we are today. After all, CEP was a result of 8 mergers. CAW was the result of over 40 mergers. And today we're achieving the biggest merger of all. We're building a powerful organization of workers from every province and every industry with a vision, with power, and with creativity. Let me say a few words about the incredible history we are building on. CEP was founded in 1992. Its formation was the landmark of Canadianization of our labor movement. CEP principles included a deep commitment to pattern bargaining. They brought us a legacy of militancy and solidarity while in bargaining. They fought and won some of the longest struggles in the history of the movement. Fletcher Challenge, 9 months. Abitibi-Bowater, 5 months. Bell Alliance, 6 months. And don't forget the Petro-Canada strike that lasted over 13 months. Brothers and sisters in the CEP proved to the boss that no matter how long the boss can hold out, our CEP proved that we would hold out one day longer. And in Unifor, we'll never forget that lesson, and we will always hold on one day longer. Talk about hanging tough, because here's what really defines a union. And that's why within the CAW we are going to be so proud that we have joined together today with the CEP, because here's the type of culture. The CEP fought a 14-year battle with Bell Canada. It was over pay equity for 4,700 operators. 4,700. 14 years. Over the 14 years, most of those operators had retired. Some had lost their jobs, but the CE kept fighting and they kept campaigning. Finally, after 14 years, they were able to win $100 million. That's provided justice to those women and men that got screwed by Bell Canada for all those years. Those women had their wages adjusted. Those women who were retired, we found them. Those women received $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 each. Those women had their pensions adjusted. And this is years after they left the workplace. It shows what type of a union we are, brothers and sisters. And brothers and sisters, that is Unifor. CEP was always known for its progressive activist policies. It stepped it up and made some of the biggest differences and some of the biggest challenges of all time. CEP was the first union, the first Canadian union that stood up and said, listen, we support the Kyoto Accord. And joining with CUPE, the CEP was able to block Mike Harris cold in his tracks when he was trying to privatize Hydro One, which would have been the largest privatization ever attempted in Canada. And if you could have stopped Harris privatizing Hydro One, brothers and sisters, we got a lot of work to do that the Conservative government in Harper slows down, and we're not going to let him continue to privatize our industries. To all the CEP activists, local union leadership, the former leadership, thank you very much for your contribution, for your activism, your passion, and for making sure you take all of that enthusiasm and you've got it here today in this room as Unifor. Let me talk a little bit about the CAW's DNA, the other half of Unifor. We formed our great union in 1985, and it was also a landmark in the building of the Canadian labor movement. We knew we had to be the masters in our own house. We knew we weren't getting the service we demanded as being part of an international union. They were trying to control us. We felt we didn't have the respect we deserved. They didn't respect and understand our Canadian identity. So we forged our own path. So we formed a union in 1985 that represented Canadian workers with Canadian values, fighting on behalf of Canadian priorities. And we knew that we were doing a hell of a job representing and empowering our members. The UAW will always be committed to social unionism, because social unionism means so much to us. We fought hard in bargaining. We fought hard in the political arena. We fought for programs. We fought for benefits to help all workers, their families, and our communities. We pioneered same-sex benefits. We put it in our collective agreements. We won subsidized daycare. Anti-harassment language, we put it in our collective agreement. We put into place equity programs. We bargained families' legal services. But when we bargain these things, and we're going to do this as Unifor, we understand that, yes, we borrow them first for our members, but then we take them from our larger workplaces to the smaller workplaces, and then we make sure that those types of gains that we make as an organization and as a movement trickles down to the non-union workers so that we can build confidence and we can build a much stronger movement for all Canadian workers. Because that's what social unionism is all about, brothers and sisters. What we demand for ourselves is what we demand for everyone in this country. The CAW's education program is the biggest and best in Canadian labor. And Port Elgin is the heart of our education program. We will continue, brothers and sisters, because Port Elgin is our jewel. We're going to make sure that we have so many educations. We're going to make sure that we keep the center full. But education doesn't just happen in Port Elgin. It happens everywhere. It happens in every province. It happens in every city. And we're going to make sure that Unifor is going to continue not only to provide the same service, but we're going to provide better service as it relates to education in our workplaces, educating our youth, better education than we've ever had in the past. And that's my commitment to each and every one of you here today. The CAW was also known for our leadership and its unity. We were a union that could get things done. Sure, we had our debates, we had our controversies, we had our arguments, we had a lot of them actually. But once we had the debate, once we had the argument, we always moved forward as one. Because we understood that in order for us to have true success, we had to move forward as one. We had some of the most outspoken, influential leaders in the movement. And that wasn't by accident. It reflected their great personal strength, but it also, more importantly, it reflected our system. It reflected us, because our leaders knew that when we made a decision, when they were making the fight, they knew they had the whole force, they had the whole organization walking right side by side with them and behind them. So that's what collective power means, brothers and sisters. It means that when we agree to do something, we're all going to stick together, we're going to get it done. That culture of unity will be essential in our new union as well. And we will build it, we will nurture it. Every fight we take on, every battle we win, every debate we have, we will work together, we will fight together, we will stick together, and we will build a union that acts together as one. That's what we have to do for each and every day, and we need to do that for each other, brothers and sisters, because we have to watch each other's back while we're building this great organization. I say to our CAW members and leaders and activists, I salute all of you. I thank you. The unity, the legacy you built will continue in Unifor. In short, Unifor will never forget our history. Every accomplishment of our past and every lesson we learned is precious to us. But we cannot be captives of the past, brothers and sisters. Today we create a new union, and starting today we begin to build a new history. As we built Unifor through this incredible process over the last 2 years, we asked members, what kind of a union do you want? And they were very clear. They said they want a modern union, they want an accountable union, they want a democratic union, they want a transparent union, above all, they want a progressive union. They want us to fight for equality. They want us to fight for inclusion. They want a union that communicates effectively and listens as well as it speaks. Our members are women, men, white, lesbian, gay, straight, Aboriginal, disabled, workers of color. We will be a union that takes its responsibility to fight exclusion and discrimination. Let's just think about this. Think about the timing of our convention. 50 years ago on Wednesday, 50 years ago was the 50th anniversary of the March on Washington. And what were the goals of the Great March on Washington? It was about jobs, it was about equality, it was about racial and economic equality, it was about a dream, it was about a hope. And why are we all here today, brothers and sisters? We're here because we want a union, we want a society based on economic and racial equality. We want opportunity. We want hope. We want all of those things that predated the march 50 years ago. Dr. King, that was your dream 50 years ago, and I'm going to tell you today. There's almost 4,000 people in this room today that share your dream, and we're going to fight like hell to make sure that we fulfill the dual dream of freedom and jobs. And that'll be the mantra of Unifor, brothers and sisters. Because we will never forget that there will be no equality without justice, and there will be no justice as long as there is racism and discrimination still exists in this society. I also want to send a message to our LGBT communities, members and allies. Unifor will step up firmly, here and everywhere, where our solidarity is needed. I'm appalled, to be honest with you. I'm totally disgusted about what's going on in Russia today. I'm appalled that in Russia they passed anti-gay legislation, where pride is now a crime. Russian legislators shamelessly passed unanimously for that legislation, unanimously. I can assure you that we must condemn this bigotry. We have to express our solidarity with the LGBT community in Russia. And I'll do that immediately. Immediately after this convention, I'll be sending and writing a letter to Putin saying that we absolutely are disgusted by your government's actions, and we will work with the community in Russia. And we will encourage the working class in Russia to get off their ass and work to eliminate bigotry and hatred in Russia, because the movement has to take on that fight. In short, brothers and sisters, I pledge to all our members today that Unifor will be a union with endless determination to win social justice. We'll be effective and determined at the bargaining table. We'll be hard. We'll make sure that we bring home the bacon for our members. Just think of it, brothers and sisters. The union puts money in our members' pocket. Think about the union advantage, brothers and sisters. A unionized worker makes $5 an hour more than a non-union member. A unionized woman worker makes $7 an hour more than a non-union woman worker. That's the real economic value of unions. Unions pump over $1 billion a week in extra spending power to the Canadian economy. So guess what? I'm not going to apologize for that extra income. I'm not going to apologize because we're successful at the bargaining table. It's something that we should all be proud of, brothers and sisters. Because guess what? It's not a crime in Canada to earn a decent wage. It's not a crime in Canada for us to earn enough money to support our families and to help put your kids through school and to have a pension. This ought not to be a crime. It's our right, brothers and sisters. And Unifor is going to make that right a reality. Because of each and every working person in Canada should have the right to have a good paying jobs with benefits, with pensions, and should have the right to work with the support of a union. Yes, making progress at the bargaining table is important, but we'll be just as effective in the political arena because our members need both. Make no mistake, governments are going to know exactly where we come from. After all, our union is born in the middle of a historical struggle to defend labor rights. The Conservative government in Canada has decided to challenge our democratic right to organize and collect dues. They are singling out unions. They're attacking our finances. They're attacking our ability to represent our members. And there will be more attacks ahead, brothers and sisters, including a direct assault on the RAND formula. We know the importance of the RAND formula. It was a proud Unifor Local 200. Local 200 in Windsor that won the RAND formula with a historic strike and a blockade. Will the delegates of Local 200 please stand up? Where are the Local 200 delegates? There you are. Local 200. Thank you very much. Thank you for what your local union did for the whole trade union movement in Canada. I pledge to you and every trade unionist, every trade union and member, they will not take away the RAND formula, not without one hell of a fight. It's a fundamental principle of democracy that when the majority decide to form a union, that everyone pays their share because everyone benefits. Let's be honest. Eliminating the RAND formula and frankly legalizing free riders is nothing less than an attempt to destroy our movement and create union-free workplaces and a union-free society. If our federal government and other governments attack our fundamental freedoms, make no mistake, Unifor will define ourselves through our resistance and through our struggle. We will organize, we will mobilize, we will reach our members, our communities, and our public at large. We will do everything necessary across all of our 20 economic sectors and in any part of this country to preserve the right for free collective bargaining, just like the members of Local 200 did over 70 years ago. And now that the Prime Minister has prorogued government again, shutting down democracy once again, and by proroguing Parliament again, they have wiped out that historic vote that happened in the Senate to amend Bill C-377, the bill that attacks unions and our rights to be socially and politically active. So now C-377 must go back to Senate all over again. What a waste of time and money. Because the bill is fundamentally flawed. It's wrong-headed. We know that, and so do they. So do all the experts that appeared before the Senate. They testified before the Senate. What an irony. So it seems we do have an accountability problem in this country. But it's not about the unions. The last time I looked, Pamela Wallin wasn't a union member. Mike Duffy wasn't a union member. Patrick Brazeau wasn't a union member. Mark Harb didn't belong to a union. And Nigel Wright, he wasn't a union member either. They weren't spending our dues. They were spending the taxpayers' money with their phony expenses. Now they're going to audit all of the centers, and it'll cost Canadians more than $2 million. I think I can save a way to save them a few dollars. Why don't you just manage the Senate the way we manage our union? Simple things. If you want to spend members' money, take it to a meeting for a vote. You have union trustees, they check the spending 4 times a year and report that to the members. We have annual audited financial reports that any members can look at. And if you misuse the members' money, you don't just pay it back, you get thrown out of office. And that's what should happen to them. They should be thrown out of office. Accountability? Yeah, let's have some accountability. Let's talk about accountability, brothers and sisters. Proroguing government. Shutting down our democracy. That's not about accountability. That's about avoiding accountability. Whoops. Since the last election, good hands, buddy. Nice catch. Since the last election, the Harper government intervened in collective bargaining 5 times to help break strikes, to help the employer. Post Office, CP Rail 3 times with Air Canada. 5 times they stripped workers of basic rights and intervened to support employers. Now let me ask all of you this question. Where is the Labour Minister today? Her own government has walked off the job. They're on an illegal strike, in my opinion. They shut down Parliament purely to avoid the latest scandals. Where is the Labour Minister? Order those MPs back to work. If you can order postal workers back to work in the public interest, and if you can oppose the employer's final proposals, then you can sure as hell order yourself and the members of Parliament back to work and take care of the nation's business. And we know why the Conservatives are doing this. They just don't like us. They don't like what we stand for. They resent our influence in political debates, and they think they can silence us. But I would say that this country needs our political voice more than at every level. And our voice will be heard. It will be heard loud and clear. Let's use our voice to call for a job summit, brothers and sisters. Let's use our voice to call for a Buy Canadian strategy for public purchases. It's not complicated. It's a strategy that we've used. It's the same policy that put 400 young people to work in Thunder Bay, building railway cars after our union and our movement forced government to buy force Toronto to buy Canadian-made streetcars. We've been calling on a good job summit for years. Why can't we get government, business, unions, colleges, universities? Why can't we get everybody in a room and have a discussion about jobs? Do we not think that the unemployed and our young people deserve for us to do that? And I'll say this to you, brothers and sisters, because trying to get the government to take any sort of ownership for job creation is like pulling teeth. So let me propose this to each and all of you in this room today. I propose that Unifor host a Good Job Summit, together with any other stakeholder that believes we have a jobs problem. So let's do it ourselves. Let's do it in the first year of our existence. What do you say, brothers and sisters? Do we owe it to the unemployed? Let's use our voice. to say no more free trade agreements like CETA. Because we know what CETA does. We know that it'll sacrifice tens of thousands of jobs in manufacturing, in auto, in telecommunications. It would scrap local procurement rules. It would force our seniors to pay more for drugs. We need to call for a Canadian energy strategy. A strategy that uses our energy and uses it wisely. We use it with sustainability. We add value to it right here in Canada. Instead of just digging out of the ground and trench and digging it out even faster than ever and shipping it off to the United States, why can't we have a strategy in here to create even more jobs? Why can't we refine it here? Why can't we take advantage of the raw materials and the natural resources we have in Canada to create the type of jobs we demand for our children? We will use our voice in the debate over the Canadian Healthcare Accord. We must make sure that public Medicare is secure for the next generation. We must protect our healthcare members from being the next members or the victims of austerity. And we will speak loudly and clearly about pensions. We reject the idea that Canadians must now work till age 67 before they get a full retirement. We will fight and we will show that by expanding CPP, it's the best way to address our pension problem, but it's also the best way to create jobs for our new people. We need to make sure that our seniors are taken care of with dignity. They have a pension that they can live on. And when they retire in dignity, that'll create the jobs that we need for the youth of today. So in short, we need to build a union. We need to build a union that will play a politically active role in this country. Because we're going to build a union that's going to deal with the politics of hope. We're going to deal with opportunity. We're going to eliminate intolerance, and we're going to talk about social solidarity. Unifor will be in the heart of politics, brothers and sisters. As a union, we will engage in those debates honestly and independently. We will defend the interests of our members and all workers, and at the bargaining table in society in general. When we think of hope and we think of love in politics, we got to think about Jack Layton that died 2 years ago. I invite you all to go down to the ferry terminal just down the road. And you've got to see the new statue that was erected on behalf of Jack Layton. It was a gift from the Ontario Federation of Labour. The statue has Jack on the back of a tandem bike, and it's called Jack Has Your Back. He did have our backs, and we miss him. And that's why we're all here today. We got to get on the front seat of that bike, and we need to think about this wonderful city where we are meeting today. Because let me tell you, brothers and sisters, a world-class city needs a world-class mayor. Unfortunately, we don't have a world-class mayor. We have a world-class embarrassment. We have a mean-spirited, we have a divisive, lying conservative who's more concerned about attacking unions and attacking working people and slashing taxes than he is about building a city. So I hope that by the next time we have a meeting in Toronto, that we will be inviting the new mayor of Toronto, Mayor Olivia Chow. Unifor's fight, we will fight for our rights, for a better Canada, but we need to do that in solidarity with the complete trade union movement. On behalf of all of you here today from all the locals in every part of this land, we send our greetings in solidarity to the whole labor movement. Today we have Brother Giorgetti, we've got Brother Moyes, we have Brother Newman, we have all kinds of leaders from the movement across the country who are here to join with us today. We will tell you that Unifor is here for unity and it's here for solidarity. You can count on us. You can count on the new partnerships in building our union. It's going to be a movement from the grassroots of Unifor. It's going to be a movement from our labor councils, the federations, and the Canadian Labour Congress. And we're proud to have here our fraternal guests in the global labor movement. Leaders here from Europe, Australia, Latin America, Mexico, United States. Comrades, welcome to our great convention. You are here today because of the working relationships and friendships we've built over the years of shared struggle. Our relationship, our friendship will only grow with Unifor. We know that in many places trade unionists are on the fight lines. They're fighting for democracy. Trade unionists have always been a primary target of repressive regimes. We will stand with you. We will commit that Unifor will make international solidarity a vital part of everything that we do. At the same time that we stand with you, we know that you'll be standing with us. We are strengthened by you. We are inspired by you. We're inspired by your activism, by your courage, even facing more difficult circumstances than we do here today. But look around the world, brothers and sisters. Look at the workers in South Africa. 300,000 workers in South Africa on street fighting against austerity. They're demanding economic justice, just like they fought years ago to end their terrible, oppressive apartheid regime. And look at the workers in Korea, an incredible tradition of militant trade unionists. Now, those unions are facing the same threats from arrogant companies that we deal with here in North America, and arrogant companies like we deal with here in Canada. Think about it. General Motors telling the workers in Korea that unless they cut their wages and cut their activism, they're going to leave South Korea. And I'm going to tell General Motors right now, as I stand here, we are going to stand with those workers in Korea. We're going to stand with General Motors workers across the globe. Because if you take on workers in Korea, you're taking on workers in Canada. And we're going to fight with them to make sure that they get good jobs that they deserve. Look at the fast food workers across the United States going on strike, even without a union, to demand a living wage. And I'm going to tell you, brothers and sisters, that's a sign of courage. And if the fast food workers are going to fight for decency and security in the United States, then I would suggest all of us in this room should start working with the fast food workers in the different restaurants in Canada. Let them know that Unifor is for them, and let them know that we intend on walking side by side with them until they get social justice. I say to our friends in civil society and the social justice movements and the environmental movement, please know that Unifor is your partner. We will be full partners with our shared struggles for peace, justice, and sustainability. Most of all, we want to send a message of hope and solidarity to every worker in Canada that needs the power of a union and yet doesn't have one. Workers in non-union jobs, including students, young workers, precarious workers, underemployed workers, casuals, and temp workers, and everyone else that they told you unions are not for you. Today we are founding a union for you, Unifor, a union for you. We invite you to change your lives by joining our shared struggle, and in doing so, you will change our labor movement in our country. To make our dream a reality, we need a plan. The policy paper that we will discuss lays out a lot of alternatives. It lays out a plan, and it lays out our priorities. Job one is to build our new union. Our members need to meet each other. They need to start working together at every level. We need to create new councils, establish our public profile, make sure the Unifor logo is everywhere that our members are. Building Unifor starts with engaging our members. Our convention document describes a very ambitious membership engagement plan. Look at the plan and ask yourselves, what can we do in our locals? What can we do in our workplaces? How do we engage our own members in building Unifor? Our members need to hear from Unifor, see it, connect with it. We will make sure that in the transition, that the staff, the servicing, the bargaining is seamless for both CEAW and CEP workplaces. Our locals are the foundation of Unifor, and our document calls for a task force on building stronger locals. I will make sure that that task force gets underway in the coming months. And following the convention, brothers and sisters, we must also launch our new organizing strategy, and we're going to discuss that plan in detail tomorrow. We have the vision, we have the resources to make it happen, and now it's up to us. I want to congratulate the new National Executive Board, the new members of our new Unity team, which has over 40% women on the new Leadership Executive Board. Together we'll be a collective, effective, accountable team. I'm so grateful for all of you, for your personal commitment you are making here today for our new union. I also want to recognize the Unifor staff, our representative, department staff, support staff. Facts are, we need everyone pulling together in order to make this a great union. We can't do this without you. Finally, let me say this to you, the activists and leaders in this hall. Ultimately, it's up to you to take our decisions and our plan to the 300,000 members in all of our workplaces. We will not be judged by our rhetoric, we will be judged by our actions, as it should be. That's why we are activists, because we want action. That's why Unifor must be, above all, a fighting union. A union that's defined by our willingness to identify injustice wherever it's experienced, and then leap into action to correct the injustice. Canadians are getting to know our new name and logo. They will get to know our new you. The symbol of activism, of solidarity, of making a difference. So today, brothers and sisters, we are building a new country. We're building a union with a vision of equality at our core, where all are engaged to the fight for true equality. We're building a union that organizes every day, because we understand that if we can't organize ourselves, we can't organize others. We're building a union that fights for Canada and that will protect and fight to protect our democracy. We're building a union that pushes back against greedy employers, against corrupt politicians, and against those that want to divide and destroy rather than unite and build. We are going to build a union that when they push us, we will push them back twice as hard. Most of all, we are building a union with the determination and capacity to dream. We believe that a better world is possible, and we will mobilize and take action. You know why, brothers and sisters? Because we need to start to build a new country. A new country that's built on respect and social responsibility. We need a country that respects our First Nations. Un pays qui respecte l'histoire.
A country that respects history and the national rights of Quebec.
Based on diversity and human rights for everyone who lives here. And we're building a country where young people experience opportunity, protection, education, and above all, love. A country with hospitals and long-term care facilities to care for everyone, to care for everyone in dignity, to care for our parents when they get old. Because, brothers and sisters, we need to build a country where communities and jobs and the environment are more important than profit and corporate greed. We are building a country where free collective bargaining is treated as a fundamental human right, a right that cannot be taken away from us by government, not by any government, especially not by this government. We are building a country where every willing Canadian can have a good job, with decent pay and rights and conditions and benefits, and for a union to stand up for them. Sisters and brothers, that's why we are founding a new union today. We're starting a new movement today. We're starting to build a new country today. That's what Unifor will do. That's what we will do. Unifor, the union, united, forward, strong, a union for you, a union for everyone. Canada needs Unifor. The Canada can't be built without Unifor, and Unifor starts here today, brothers and sisters. Our future begins today, and it begins with us in the room. Thank you all very much, brothers and sisters. Let's get it done.